Peace to the 12. I've been working on this video all week pretty much. This video is going to have 333 slides. And y'all see the title, Leave the World Behind and Open the Bible. I'll say that one more time. Leave the world behind and open the Bible. We're going to be looking at this movie. We're going to be giving a review on this movie, Leave the World Behind. And we're going to be obviously doing it biblically because this is a Bible channel. All right. And if someone wants to say something slick, go ahead and exit the building. All right. Once again, this was a 333 slide, man. I was going in, and I really could have probably made it a little longer. We're going to be looking at all the things that I witnessed in this movie, and obviously, this is going to be a spoiler review if someone hasn't seen the movie yet. So go ahead and go watch it or whatever you want to do, or if you don't care, I'm about to spoil it. And I'm also going to go ahead and give this copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. This is for fair use purposes. This is for comments, all right, and teaching, and education, and research, okay? Once again, fair use. So, with all that being said, let's get straight into it, man. So, the movie we're going to be reviewing is Leave the World Behind, right? Now, right off the rip on Leave the World Behind, if you look here, oh, my mouse is glitching. It's lucky. Now, if you look here, right here, it says Leave the World Behind. It has the actors for the film right here. But if you look really closely, I'm actually going to get a highlighter real fast. If you look really closely, you'll see B-A-A-L. Is that coincidence? Of course not. First of all, I don't believe in coincidence, but this says Baal. All right? B-A-A-L. Baal. All right, which is in the scriptures, all right, which is a pagan god, Baal. The word Baal really goes back to the word Lord. That's why when you see these celebrities and these officials, political officials, and different people say, I like to thank the Lord, they can't be trusted because another word for the word Baal is the word Lord. All right, the word Baal occurs 63 times in 51 verses in the KJV Bible. All right, now, continuing on, let's deal with some more of the actors. This guy right here in particular, this brother right here by the name of Mahershala Ali. For those of you that don't know, Mahershala is a Hebrew name. All right. It is a Hebrew name. All right. Mahershala Hashbaz was the son of the prophet Isaiah. In particular, he was the second son. All right. And you can read about that in Isaiah chapter 8, verse 3. And I went on to the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son. Then said the Lord to me, call his name Mahershala Hashbaz. So he has a Hebrew name. That's number one. And this other woman, the other so-called black woman, also has a Hebrew name. Her name, or at least she has a Hebrew name in the movie, Salaki. Her name is Mahala Harold. All right, Mahala Harold. All right. And her name in the movie is Ruth Washington. And by the way, I didn't include this, but did you know that the majority of people with the last name Washington are actually so-called black people? You can look that up. I didn't do that. You know, a matter of fact, since I'm the big homie feeling generous, let's look it up real fast. Black people percent last name Washington. Let's do it. Just for y'all. Now check this out. I'll pull it up for you. This is a fun fact. I just pulled it up, popped up real quick. So her name is Ruth Washington. First, let's prove what I was saying. There's a book of Ruth, all right? Ruth the Moabitess, all right? The book of Ruth, that's in the Bible. And that was her name in the movie, as well as her name in the movie was Ruth Washington. Well, check this out. This is from the New York Times. This is a top surname. It says 93% of Americans with the last name Washington are black, according to the Census Bureau, which says that makes it the highest concentration of black people per surname. Now, what they would, of course, like to do to you is say, oh, that's because they got their name from their slave master or whatever. No, as a matter of fact, I believe Washington, I don't even know if it's a Welsh name. I want to say it is, but I don't want to be wrong on that. But there were so-called black people who were deported from Europe. I did a video on that. that already had the name Washington. They also had names like Douglas, Duncan, Brown, so on and so forth. I did a video on that. You can watch the video. I believe the video is titled These Black People Do Not Have Slave Surnames, or something like that. You can check in that for more information. If you ask me in the comment section, I will send you the link to it. Now, continuing on, right? So the movie runtime is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It's a pretty decently long movie. So in the 1 minute 30-second mark of the movie, this already occurs. So this is right off the rip of the movie. Like, the movie just started, right? So what you already see is, you guys might not see it, but right here, and right here is 3 6s. You got the 6, then at 6 o'clock, then you have the 6 on this coffee mug. All right, let me show you that with plus signs. You have the 6, you have another 6, you have the third 6. Okay? Which, of course, you can read about that, and that's known as the blotch of the beast. I say blotch because the word M-A-R-K gets censored on YouTube sometimes. So we're going to say the blotch of the beast. All right, the B-O-B. But Revelations 13 and verse 16, actually, we're going to start at 6. We're going to start at 16. Revelations 13 and 16, but 18 is what I want. It reads, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a M-A-R-K in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the M-A-R-K, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." And by the way, that M-A-R-K, that blotch, it is physical. You have people saying that it's just only spiritual. No, they really want to put a device inside of your body, in my opinion. But, you know, I'll do a video on that. I've done a video on that before, but we'll go deeper to that in another day, another time. Verse 18, Revelation 13 and 18, which is what I wanted. "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, you see how it says number of the man? Just a side note, right? I believe carbon is consisted of 6 protons, neutrons, and electrons. So isn't it interesting that that's 6 and this is the number of a man? That's because man is made corruptible and incomplete. All right, and the word 7, of course, is a holy number because the world was created. We have 6 days, and then the 7th day is the day of rest. Just wanted to touch on that as well. But clearly, clear as day, you have 666. That's biblical as well. All right, Revelation 13, 18, other versions, it doesn't have 666. It just says 666. Just wanted to say that. Now we go to the 3 minute and 20-ish mark. It gives you the name of the movie, which is Leave the World Behind. But look at the color scheme. The color scheme is red, black, and white. Now, those of you that don't know what red, black, and white is, I did this video years ago on this topic. But red, black, and white is actually code for what is known as the black mask, which is satanic imagery. I say satanic because that word also is weird in the YouTube algorithm. So I'm going to say Satanic. All right. So that's this red, black, and white is a color scheme for the black mass, which is ceremonially typically celebrated by various satanic people, right? Black mass, satanism, right? And for those of you that don't know, I even asked ChatGPT, it even pulled it up. It says black, red, and white can indeed hold symbolic meanings in various contexts, including the realm of rituals and symbolism associated with practices like the black mass. In this specific context, these colors often carry symbolic significance. Black often representing darkness, mystery, the unknown, or even rebellion against traditional norms. In the context of black mass, it might signify the inversion of subversion of typical religious or spiritual symbolisms, practice, or beliefs. The red, it deals with blood. All right, and the white deals with inversion of white, inversion of purifying, basically, is what I'm saying. That's why even here you see the white is getting stained by blood. Just wanted to say that as well. Yeah, the black mass. All right, even when you look up Satanic imagery, you have the red, black, and white everywhere, right? Because once again, it's the imagery. And here's a challenge for all my Israelite viewers. Look up the album and mixtape covers of your favorite artists and see if you will see the color codes of red, black, and white. That's because it has to deal with the black mask. And you will be surprised that you're almost always your favorite rapper or artist probably has a mixtape that is part of the color scheme of the black mask, red, black, and white. Like, for example, I'll just give you one example. Drake, Canadian rapper and singer, this is his album cover. Now you got You got the Scary Hours. You got the red, black, and white. You got the So Far Gone, red, black, and white. You got the Room for Improvement, red, black, and white. You got Thank Me Later, red, black, white. The Gift Without a Curse, red, black, white. The Best in the World Pack, red, black, white. For All the Dogs, red, black, and white. That's all the Black Mass, okay? All the same color scheme. Coincidence? Well, you know, I don't believe in coincidences, but let's continue. All right, so in the 5-minute 50 mark, they're over there cruising through the whip, going to the vacation home, and you see these two signs. These two signs are also impactful when you look them up. So this is, the first sign says Fort Mose Road. Well, what's important about Fort Mose Road? Well, Fort Mose became the site of the first legally sanctioned free African community in the United States. So that's what Fort Mose was. It was the first free black African American community in the United States. All right, allegedly. I say allegedly. We'll get into that in a minute. But so yeah, that's Fort Mose Road. It was a town. What's a town? A village, a group of houses, a farm. All right. It was also known as Santa Teresa de Mos. All right. They say it was the first African American community of free blacks, supposedly. I say supposedly because in reality, black people were already in the Americas prior to the creation of the Fort Mose Sanctuary Village. Believe it or not, I'm going to show you a couple of things on why I say that. This is a guy born in the 1700s, born in 1783, by the name of Constantine Samuel Rafinesque. He wrote a book. Oh, who was he, by the way? Let's see who he was. He was a polymath, or meaning he was skilled in many things. Now, he wrote a book called The American Nations, or Outlines of Their General History, Ancient and Modern. We're going to go to the highlighted portion for sake of time. This is what he had to say in page 1. He states, the origins and annuals of the black nations and of the American nations were two subjects quite obscure and neglected. So they don't like to mention the black nations that were in the Americas, right? So it was neglected and least known of the history of mankind. So one of the least known things, other than the fact that we're the Israelites, but one of the least known things were that black people were already in the Americas. They don't want people to know that so-called black people were already in Americas. You know my stance. I've told you guys this a million, billion, trillion times, that the so-called black people in mass, in bulk, in the Americas come from three groups. That is the so-called black people that were deported from Europe, the so-called blacks that came from west and central coast of Africa on the ships, as well as the so-called black people that were already in the Americas prior to Columbus. I've made videos on that as well. Once again, you can ask me in the comments. I'll send you the link. But anyway, so it's the least known of history of mankind of the black nations and the Americans, right? Nobody has undertaken as yet the history of the Negro nations. The Negro nations, a labor so difficult and luckless as to be despised. So it's hard to find it, but it is known, right? It says, my memoirs on this despised race, yeah, they hate us because they ain't us, may perhaps furnish the basis of such history. All the histories of America are mere fragments or dreams. All right, so most history is fragments or dreams. Yeah, it's straight narrative, right? And this all goes part of the scriptures. They don't want us to know our history. That's pursuant to Psalms, the 83rd chapter, verse 1 through 5. Let's get it. A song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. All right, so they're all confederate against us, all these nations. Later on in the chapter, it lists you the actual nations like Edom, Ishmael, Moab, Hagarenes, Gabal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistines, Ashur, the Assyrians. But anyway, yeah, it says they want to cut us off from being a nation. They don't want us to be in remembrance, and they took a crafty counsel to do so. All right, straight up. Now, let's read more into this book, even though I've already proved that black people were already in the Americas prior to the creation of Fort Mose Sanctuary Village, the free black town, the alleged first free black town. Now, we're going to go to page 32, this same book, The American Nations, or Outlines of Their General History, Ancient and Modern, by Constantine Samuel Rafinesque. And it says what? It says, there were formerly in America, as now, tribes of all complexions, as elsewhere, yellowish, olive, coppery, tawny, refined brown, incarnate or white, and even black, even blackened or Negro-like. They were in the Americas. Let's get another guy. Speaking on that, this guy by the name, he was born, by the way, in the 1400s. A guy by the name of Giovanni da Verrazzano. He was an Italian explorer, born in the 1400s, died in 1528. See what he had to say in his letters. The written record of the voyage of 1524 of Giovanni da Verrazzano, as recorded in later to Francis I, King of France, July 6th, 1524. He wrote this. He was an Italian explorer, and the region he went to was what's known now as the Carolinas. And he's going to say that the Carolina Indians were similar to the Ethiopian race, the Ethiopians. We're going to read it. All right, this is him talking about him. He says, they are dark in color. Some use the word black. It is entirely up to the translator. So they are dark in color, not unlike the Ethiopians, with thick black hair, not very long, tied back behind the head like a small tail. So they looked like the Ethiopians, right? It says, note on the use of dark rather than black for this translation. All right? Because what do? The so-called wheat man likes to use words that can hide the meaning of being black people in history. But the comparison to the Ethiopians, of course, ends all debate. Yes, he said the Carolina Indians resembled Ethiopians. All right? And as we know, Ethiopia means burnt face. That's what the word Ethiopian means. That's East Bible Dictionary, right? Now, let's see what Grant Foreman had to say in his book. What was his book title? I believe it was The 5 Civilized Nations or something. It's going to tell me here. The 5 Civilized Tribes of Indian Territory. All right, this is what he had to say in page 27, the Creeks in South Carolina. This is what he had to say. He says, the Yamasee, or Jamasi, were one of a smaller number of isolated tribes of dark complexion, found widely scattered among the inhabitants of North and South America. So you had these so-called black people in North and South America. He says supposed to have been immigrants from Africa prior to the European discovery of America. So he's saying they were there prior to the discovery of the Americas by the so-called Europeans. All right. If this be so, it explains why Diallo persisted in slave hunting about Beaufort in 1520. These Negroes were being valuable as laborers. So they were even trying to enslave the Yamasee tribe, which once again were so-called black people that were already in the Americas prior to European discovery of America. And even when we look at a writer, a painter by the name of Peter Shank the Elder, who was born in 1660, he actually painted a documentation of the Yamasee tribe Indians. And as you can see, they are so-called black people. Like you said, not unlike the Ethiopians. This is Dutch painter Peter Shank, painting of the Yamasee War, full title translated from the Dutch, the gruesome attack of the Indians on the English in Carolina, West Indies, 1715, April 19th. As you can see, clear as day, you have so-called black people taking on the redcoats. All right, and speaking of that word, it says the attack of the Indians. Notice these are so-called black people. Well, up until recent times, the N-word and Indian were synonymous. When we go to this, shout out to Kurameo Ahau, the facts on the file, Encyclopedia, Word and Phrase Origins, 4th edition. When we go to the N-word, it says N-word when used by a white person to describe black or an African American persons. Latin Niger, black, which you can read about that in Acts 13:1. Where they called Simon Niger for his dark complexion. Done videos on that. Now check this out. It says, the N-word has also been an offensive derogatory term applied to Indians, as well as blacks up until recent times. And you can see why they would call these people the N-word, because they had the same complexion. We go to Dictionary of American Regional English, Volume 3. Same thing it says about the N-word. It says N-word used of any other non-white person, especially an American Indian. So American Indians were definitely being called the N-word. They also called Filipinos that. Why? Because you look up the Ada people spelled A-E-T-A. The Ada people are the Aboriginal people of the Philippines, which are so-called black people as well. Right? So let's continue on. We're 20 minutes in. I gotta keep this moving, man. We 40 slides in. It's 300 slides. All right, now let's look at this other part of the sign. It says Point Comfort. All right, Point Comfort. What is Point Comfort? Well, Point Comfort. What happened in Point Comfort? Point Comfort, August 1619, was 20 to 30 enslaved Africans landed at Point Comfort, today's Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia, aboard the English privateer ship The white lion. White lion will come important later on, but the white lion in Virginia. These Africans were traded in exchange for supplies. Several days later, a second ship, Treasure, arrived in Virginia with additional enslaved Africans. Okay? So, Point Comfort. Think about that. They had that there. That's where the Africans had landed, so-called Africans, right? Which brings me to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. You already know. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way, whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondman and bondwoman, and no man shall buy you. The word buy in this instance is talking about redeeming, meaning none of these people are going to redeem us, man. All right, so I don't look for reparations from my enemy because I know I'm not going to get it, right? Well, actually, I am going to get reprimanded. I'm going to get everything that was taken from me and my people when our Lord Yahweh shall return, sent by the Most High God, whose name is Yahawah, to save and slaughter, to save his people, the Israelites, and then, you know, the rest. So, anyway, it says Egypt again with ships. And it says you're not see it again because Egypt is talking about of us going into slavery again, a huge captivity likened onto Egypt. It's not talking about what you know as North Africa, Egypt, so-called, right? It's not talking about that. It tells you that in Exodus 14 and 13. It says, and Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he shall show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. All right, we're not going to see those Egyptians again. Now, of course, we went to Egypt. There's many accounts of reading Maccabees. Our people were in Egypt. Joseph fled into Egypt with yahawashi when he was but a boy. And there's other accounts too, I believe in Isaiah, or is it Jeremiah, when our people went into Egypt. But yeah, there's just that. But we know there's another Egypt because when you read Revelations, so it's talking about a spiritual Egypt, a place that's just like Egypt. It's talking about the Americas because when you read Revelations 11 and 8, it reads, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. That's talking about Babylon the Great, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So it's Rome, Sodom, Egypt, Babylon, all mixed together. All right. In particular, it says spiritually called Egypt, right? And that's us when we went on ships in Deuteronomy 28:68. And people would say, oh, you guys are not the Israelites. You guys are. Well, I'll prove that real quick, too. We'll go to this book by Alessi Reclus, born in the 1800s, born in 1830. He wrote a book titled Universal Geography, The Earth and Its Inhabitants, the Universal Geography, Volume 12, West Africa. Now check it out. This is what he had to say. It reads, they have been compared to the Saracos, the Jews of West Africa, but unlike them are chiefly wholesome dealers carrying on large caravan trade between Sierra Leone and Timbuktu, and extending their expeditions from the Senegal to the lower Niger. So right there in West Africa, we know there were Jews there, period, right? Let's get another source. James Gray Jackson, born in the 1700s, I believe late 1700s. He wrote a book titled An Account of Timbuktu and Hausa Territories in the Interior of Africa. We're going to go to page 475, right? Which reads, page 187, he's sourcing another book. He says, Yehudi, a place of great trade. This place is reported to be inhabited by one of the lost tribes of Israel, possibly an immigration from the tribe of Judah. Yehudi in African Arabic signifies Judah, right? Yehudi signifies Jew. It is not impossible that many of the lost tribes of Israel may be found dispersed in the interior regions of Africa, meaning Central Africa. All right, Central to West Africa to be particular. Even though we are also in the South African region, you have people known as the Lemba tribe, spelled Lemba, Lemba, the Lemba tribe, which are also practicing Judeans in South Africa, right? So, when we shall become better acquainted with the continent, it is certain that some of the nations that possess the country eastward of Palestine, when the Israelites were a favorite nation, have immigrated to Africa. All right, so we did go to ships and we went to spiritual Sodom and Egypt, which is the Americas. Let's get one more source before we move on. Let's get this book by Lenora E. Burson, The Negroes and the Jews. We're going to go to page 212. This is what she had to say. Negroes claim to be Jewish is legitimate. The Negroes claim to be Jewish is legitimate. The land of Israel is located in Western Asia and borders of Northern Africa. All the native inhabitants of that region were non-white. Can I get that again? They were non-white. Okay, they didn't look like how you think they look now, right? When Spain expelled its Jews in 1492, many of them went to Africa. It seems probable that some of them were brought later to America as slaves. What that scripture say? Thou shalt go into Egypt again with ships. Spiritual Egypt. Hello, we are the Israelites, right? But anyway, some went to America as slaves. The spirituals, meaning the Negro spirituals, never sing of African rivers. It's always the Jordan or the Red Sea. They don't sing about African chiefs or king. It's David or Moses or some other Jewish characters from the Bible. Yes, like for example, we have Swing Low Sweet Chariot. Why? Because the chariot carried Elijah. It also translated yahawashi. It also translated Enoch. We also had another so-called Negro spiritual called Kumbaya, my Lord, which Kumbaya means come by here, God. All right, come by God. Kumbaya. That's what it means, right? So anyway, let's continue on. We're in the 6-minute mark. We're in the 6-minute mark, 6-minute 10-ish mark. They show this little thing, which is in representation of a rainbow. All right, which is biblical, the rainbow. All right, the rainbow is mentioned in Genesis 9 and 13 after the flood. This is Genesis 9 and 13, which reads, I have set my rainbow in the clouds. It will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. All right. That's where the rainbow is for, meaning the earth, which meaning the whole world will not be flooded by water again. All right. He set his rainbow in the clouds. Who? The Most High. All right. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. So that's what the rainbow is here to symbolize. All right. And I'll prove that this is what it's talking about in this movie too, because they even have a chapter later on through this book, because this movie is in chapters. I believe it's 4 chapters. I want to say 4 or 5. I want to say it's 4. And there's a chapter in here particularly that's titled The Flood. So this is in reference of the flood in this picture right here. And the world will not be flooded again by water. It'll be purged out by fire. That's 2 Peter 3 and verse 6. Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished, but the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So the next flood will be a flood of fire, incineration, all right, purification by fire, all right. And you might think I'm looking too deep into this rainbow reference. You might think I'm looking too deep into this rainbow they showed for 2 seconds, but my point is strengthened by the fact that there's an act/chapter in the movie called The Flood later on. Yeah, we'll see that in due time. Now let's go to the 7-minute and 20-ish mark. This is a painting they showed in the background. Now, I wanted to know what this painting was, so I looked into it. This painting is by a guy by Glenn Ligon. It's known as the Masquerade 2, number 16. All right, this is his painting. All right. Now, the author, to me personally, the reason this painting and this painter were even added into the movie is he wasn't in the movie, but his painting is because I believe that because this was produced by Barack Obama, who I believe is an in-closet homosexual, in my opinion, allegedly, right? And this guy is a homosexual himself, Glenn Ligon. It reads, Glenn Ligon is an American conceptual artist whose work explores race, language, desire, sexuality, and identity. All right, and he is a homosexual, all right? He explores questions of African-American identity and queer sexuality in a variety of media. His work is greatly informed by his experience as a gay African-American man. All right, I believe his work was snuck in there because he's probably one of the boo things of former President Barack Obama, allegedly. It says, tackling the representation of blackness in art as well as what it means to be black and gay. Ligon, all right? And of course, we know who got the queer marriage thing passed. Well, we know. I asked it, right? What president legalized gay marriage? National Archives. President Obama did that. Same-sex, this is from ABC News, right? Same-sex marriages, Supreme Court rules in favor. President Obama calls it a victory for America. He called it a victory for America. Shows you he wasn't a man of God. Then again, he's not an Israelite. If you ask me, he's from Kenya. All right? Now, there might be some Israelites that are in Kenya that I don't know about, but I can't tell you a tribe. But, He's also a hybrid because I believe his mom is a so-called Caucasian Irish woman, but whatever. You are who your father is according to the scriptures. That's why Hamite comes from who? Ham. Cushite comes from who? Cush. Israelite comes from who? Israel. You know? Ishmaelite comes from who? Ishmael. You are who your father is. Done. But anyway, and I have a little bit of proof that President Barack Obama was a in-closet so-called homosexual, because all you have to do is look up the Obama gay letters. I'm not going to go into it for sake of time, but there's a thing that says Barack Obama told his ex that he makes love to men daily in his head. All right, that's what he said in regard to homosexuality. He has gay sex fantasies in his letters he wrote to his college girlfriend, allegedly, right? So I just wanted to throw that in there. Now, of course, we know, and of course, according to Leviticus 20:13, it says, if a man also lie with mankind as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to rest. Their blood shall be upon them. Not saying that you should do that, but according to the law, according to the Torah, that is what needs to be done, according to the Torah. Which is hilarious because one of the gay capitals of the world is Tel Aviv, which is located in modern-day Israel, at least what they call modern-day Israel. But anyway, in the 850-ish mark, this work right here, this was another painting they showed in the 8-minute 50-second mark, and this was done by a woman by the name of Lisa Hunt, and this is an hourglass. The work was, I believe, titled Hourglass Beads Detail, all right, by Lisa Hunt. An hourglass. Now, the hourglass has an occult representation meaning as well. I looked at hourglass symbol occult meaning. It says it represents the continuous passing of time, serves as a reminder that life is infinite. Or you read here, it says what? Is fully developed, the hourglass to symbolize a woman who has gone through the cycle of maiden to mother. All right, so it has to do with vaginal symbolism, which I could believe. It's also why you ever see people that do the upside down pyramid by their laps. That means they're trying to that's esoteric for them, trying to channel their feminine side, which I don't believe. I believe it's all madness, but that's what they do, believe it or not. But anyway, reading on, let's go to the 9-minute 10-second mark. Damn, it's gonna be like a 2-hour movie, but or it's gonna be a 2-hour review, but it is what it is. You dig? We're on the 75th slide out of 300. So let's see if we can do. We'll see what we can do. We go to 9-minute 10-ish mark. You see the Point Comfort Marketplace. Once again, Point Comfort was where 20 and 30 enslaved Africans landed on the ship called the White Lion, and they were traded for supplies. And also, in the Fort Comfort Marketplace, you see what? Farm supplies. We were traded for what? Supplies. All right? And also in 1030-ish mark, I couldn't know what the numbers were, but these, just to let you know, these things are known as barometers. A barometer is a scientific instrument that is used to measure air pressure in a certain environment. All right, I just wanted to throw that in there. The 1040-ish mark, this is the ending of a cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac meaning a dead-end street. All right, a circle around. That's what a cul-de-sac is. A diverticulum is a blind tube. A cul-de-sac is a diverticulum ending blindly, meaning this guy was traveling blindly, because when this car leaves, later on in the movie, the Ethan Hawke's character tells you that he didn't know where he was. He was blind. He didn't know where he was at. He didn't even know he made it back home. Just wanted to go there. Nothing too much into that. But you see that word White Lion? We just talked about that earlier. Point Comfort, the slave ship, was known as the White Lion, right? Well, wouldn't you know, in the 14-minute mark and the 40-second mark, a oil tanker washes up, and it's the White Lion ship. Wouldn't you know, right? And of course, the White Lion brought the first Africans to the English colony in 1619. All right, 400 years ago, slavery arrived. Exodus 12 and 40 makes you think of a scripture, Exodus 12 and 40, which now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. So we were in Egypt for 430 years. Now, could it be that we'll be in this Egypt as well for 430 years? I can't say, because the scriptures state that no man will know the coming of our Lord, yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. But it is interesting that we were in Egypt for 430 years. And we were sent here in slavery. That makes me think of Jeremiah 2 and 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? As well as Jeremiah 2 and 15. The young lions roared upon him and yelled. They made his land waste. His cities are burned with an inhabitant. The young lions, in particular, the White Lion, right? Now, I went ahead and did the math. 430 years. I did the math. 1619 plus 430 would be the year 2049. All right, so just that for a point of reference. I don't know if it'll actually be in the year 2049, like I said, but we're in good hopes. Hopefully, we get out of here sooner rather than later, because this place is wicked as all hell. Now let's continue. Let's go to the 1520 mark. She says there's a Starbucks. They pull up to the Starbucks. She even puts a cup down and they zoom in on the Starbucks cup. Well, this Starbucks cup is the pagan mother goddess, which has many names, but I'm just going to go to one name in particular, which is Mami Wata, all right, which is a false, fake, pagan goddess that the West Africans celebrated, which is why we went into slavery in the first place, because we were trying to serve other gods as well as other things we were doing. But the mermaid with two tails that you see and the Starbucks coffee, and this is the 15th century imagery. Now check this out. This is Mami Wata. This is the Starbucks symbol. She's got the two tails lifted up, or the two legs lifted up. Once again, this is symbolism. The triangle represents the the female organ. All right, and they even have a Yoruba sea god who has the same look. The two legs lifted up. The two legs lifted up. Mami Wata, the two legs lifted up. The lady in the water, right? I think they even had a movie back in the day when I was a kid called Lady in the Water. I never watched it, but I believe it was a horror movie. But anyway, this guy right here, Olakun, was a Yoruba sea god. He has the Starbucks symbol, right? And he was worshipped by the Yoruba. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Yoruba people en masse are Israelites. Our Olakun is the goddess / god of the sea. All right, pagan, false, right? And then Mami Wata was an African spiritual tradition worshipped by Southeast Nigeria and places of West Africa, pretty much. And you see, she's got her legs lifted. And also, I believe it has to do with Eve and the serpent, if you ask me. But anyway, let's prove that the Yoruba people are Jews. Look, the lost and found, the Jews of Nigeria, the Yoruba Jews. They're even rumored to be the sons of Ephraim, right? You also have the Igbo Jews of West Africa. So our people are going into idolatry, clear as day. All right, the Jews of Nigeria, the Igbo as well. All right, as a matter of fact, so-called white man wrote a book titled "The Lost Tribes: A Myth." He was by a guy named Alan Howard Godby. He was born in 1864. In his book, "The Lost Tribes: A Myth," this is what he has to say in page 255. He reads, he says, "Thus Bishop Matthews claimed to be immoral Jewish ancestry, but since that ancestry is Negro, it follows that Negroes were the original Jews." See that? All right, I'm going to scroll down. "But my friends, we are not fakers. Every black man is a real Hebrew." I don't agree with that because, there are Hamites that are black, but because every black man is a real Hebrew, whether he knows it or not. I agree with that. A lot of these people don't want to be Israelites, but they still are. We as a race do not know who we are. Yeah, we have forgotten our names. All right, you can read about that in Hosea 1 and 10. Deuteronomy 8 and 19. Yeah, we were serving fake pagan gods. Deuteronomy 8 and 19. "And it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day, that ye shall surely perish." Yeah, because we wanted to serve dumbass Olakun and Mama Wata. All right, which, by the way, it shows you plagiarized. They can't think of anything original. They stole this from a pagan goddess. Yeah, that's why we had to get on this white line with ships, fulfilling Deuteronomy 28:68, because we wanted to try to serve other gods. Now, reading on 1611 mark, they see a deer. He says that's a good omen, seeing a deer, at least according to Mesoamerican mythology, which is going into animalism, which is the worship of concerning animals. They were going off, which is why Mesoamerica was also invaded. And for those who don't know, Mesoamerica is like modern day regions like northern Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and central to southern Mexico. The Olmec, the Maya, the Toltec, the Aztec peoples, and the Zapotec. By the way, the Olmecs were so-called black people. I did a video on it if you want to watch it. 1716 mark. They show this episode of Friends that their daughter was obsessed with. This was the last one. They kept saying the last one. That's me thinking it's in relation to what the Bible calls the last days. All right. You go to the 2030 mark. Where are we at? No, yeah, this is going to be an hour, 30-minute video, easy. We're going to go to the 2030 mark. They have this painting right here, the one-eye symbolism, of course, which was painted by Bartholomew Togio. I believe that's his name. And I believe this guy is also a homosexual, I believe. Let's see. This thing was written in French. So, you know, we translated it. Your boy went ahead and translated it. And it reads, a series of watercolors is installed. The latter represent a questioning of sexuality, pleasure, or even practices. So another guy questioning his sexuality. Once again, remember the producer of this is Barack Obama, who I believe is a in-closet homosexual, allegedly, in my opinion. But, and this was his work known as Talking to the Moon. I believe he was putting this out there for the Eye of Hathor. Sometimes it's the Eye of Horus. Sometimes it's the Eye of Ra. It's just different eyes, I believe. One eye. I think the left eye is for Hathor, whatever. It's all paganism. And this is also why you see all your celebrities covered do they eye too, because they all serve the pagan idols, believe it or not. All right. You know, it's so funny. You have presidents, you have celebrities, like rappers, entertainers, musicians, actors, whatever, celebrities, presidents. They all throw up these symbolisms. Nobody ever asks them why. The reporter has a camera right in their face. They don't ask them why they throwing up this symbol. That's because they're in the know, man. But they all throw it up. Isn't that interesting? But and Proverbs speaks about this when you read Proverbs 6 and 12. It says, a naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a forward mouth. He winketh with his eyes. See that? He winketh with his eyes. He speaketh with his feet, and he teacheth with his fingers. He teacheth with his fingers. This is a hand sign they use with their fingers, right? Yeah, a wicked man, a troublemaker, a villain, corrupt mouth, other versions. All right? Wicked people, a naughty person, a wicked man. Continuing on, 20 and 52, they show this. They show the woman, Julia Roberts, and this man, the so-called black man, showing the duality symbolism, of course. You see the black and white. Also, the daughter had 96, which I believe is just their keen way of showing 2 6s again. I didn't know what her other tattoos said. But because a 9, of course, is an inverted 6, and vice versa. And at 2340 mark, they had this painting. I could not find any information on this painting. You brothers in the comments might know what this work is. I don't know what this painting was, so I couldn't find anything on it. We go to the 31 and 26 mark. This painting right here was done by a woman by the name of Faith Ringgold. And she painted this, and we're going to touch on what this painting represents. But she focused on social enterprises, largely to learn the concerns of black women. So she was probably one of those so-called black feminists, which was a detriment to our very own community. And feminism is just an offshoot of Caucasian ideology, so-called Caucasian, really the Idumean ideology. But this painting, anyway, by her, which was Faith Ringgold, is known as the United States of Attica, 1972. Now, this right here is a map. The map of American violence is incomplete. All right. So this is literally just dealing with the violence that was done in America. All right. Notice the violence, because anywhere the Idumeans go, there is violence. That's why New Zealand was once occupied by Aboriginal people, and now it's 74% European. All right. Even though the original people were this, they took them away through violence. We go to Australia, 87% of people are so-called Europeans, 87%. Yet the originals were Aboriginals, what they call Australoids. Same with the United States, which has a 69% Europeans. And yet the originals were 2 different types of so-called Native Americans. Isn't that interesting? Right? Because the land was taken through violence by the violent man. Because America is founded by violence like everywhere else an Idumean is. And they are violent. When you read Psalms 140 and 4, it says, keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purpose to overthrow my goings. So the wicked is also a violent man. Now the wicked, anybody can be wicked, but there's a nation of people that are the wicked, which are the Idumeans, the Edomites. All right. The hands of the wicked, the violent man. All right. Proverbs 16 and 29. A violent man enticeth his neighbor and leadeth him into the way that is not good. They certainly do that. Psalms 140 and 11. Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. Yes, this violent man will be overthrown, though he has taken over damn near everywhere. Right? He will be overthrown by the Most High God. All right, and like I told you, the wicked man is Esau, Edom. I'll prove that to you now in Malachi chapter 1, verse 1. Really, it's 4, but we're going to read 1 through 4, Malachi 1, verse 1, which reads, the burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord Yahawah. Yet say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord Yahawah? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord Yahawah of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So they are known as the border of wickedness, the border of wickedness. Who? The children of Esau, the Edomites, the Idumeans. In other versions, it doesn't say border of wickedness. Other versions, it says the wicked land, the land of wickedness, wicked territory, wicked country. All right. So we live in a wicked country, which is why so many things are bizarre. All right, we live in bizarro world. All things that are evil are pointed as good. All right, like lifestyles, ideologies. Right? That's because they're also known as the borders of sin. They will be known as the land of evil. The people that Lord is permanently displeased. The Most High does not like the Idumeans. The evil country, the region of wickedness. This is all in reference to who? Once again, this is in reference to the children of Esau, who God hates, the Edomites, the Idumeans. Okay? Now, continuing on, we go to 1 Samuel 15 and 18 to prove my point that these people are known as the wicked, because the Amalekites, Amalek, which is a grandson of Esau, he is also known as the wicked. You go to 1 Samuel 15 and 18. It says, and the Lord Yahawah sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Now, let's go to other versions. It says the sinners, the Amalekites. Now, in other versions, it says those wicked people. They're the wicked, right? The wicked. The Amalekites, all right? Those wicked people of Amalek, right? The sinners, the Amalekites. So, the Amalekites are wicked. All right, just like the Edomites, they're the same branch. All right, and we know that the so-called Caucasian man in mass are Idumeans. How do we know that? Well, let's prove that through the precepts of the scriptures. You go to Genesis 36 and 10. It says, these are the name of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adar, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Bashemoth, the wife of Esau. All right, the progeny of Esau. Timnah, in Genesis 36 and 12, it says, and Timnah was concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adar, Esau's wife. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get a drink of water. All right, man, I needed that. But anyway, so we know through Eliphaz, which was Esau's son, through Eliphaz we get Amalek. That's the grandson of Esau. There you go to 1 Samuel 15 and 32. It says, then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately, and Agag said, surely bitterness of death is past. So Agag was a king of the Amalekites. So through Agag you get what is known as the Agagites, which are just offshoots of the Amalekites, which is just the grandson of Esau. Right? Agag, king of the Amalekites. You go to Esther 3 and 10, it tells you Haman, the son of Hammedatha, was an Agagite, and he was also an enemy of the Jews. Right? You go to Editions of Esther, the 16th chapter and the 10th verse. It says, for Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Hammedatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us. So we know now that Haman was an Agagite, but here it tells you Haman was a Macedonian. So we know that the Macedonians are Agagites, the Agagites are Amalekites, the Amalekites come from the son of Eliphaz, who was Esau's son. All right, why is this important? Because who were the Macedonians in history? Well, we know who the Macedonians are because when we read 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, it says, and it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian. So a Macedonian is an Agagite, which is an Amalekite. Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chedam, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. So, Alexander, son of Philip, who is that? Who you call as Alexander the Great? Who I call Alexander the Creep, Alexander the Freak, Alexander the Weirdo. All right, Alexander the Great, son of Philip, right? All right, as you can see, clear as day, he is a what you would call so-called Caucasian, right? He even has a nose in this picture that they call an alkaline nose or a Roman nose. And guess what? A Roman nose is really an Idumean nose because they're the same people, believe it or not. And anytime they're in power, it ensues wickedness off top because guess what? It says, verse 9, 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and 9. It says, and after his death, whose death? Alexander's. They all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So when they were in rulership, evils were multiplied in the earth. Why? Because they're, once again, the sinner. They're the wicked. They are the man of sin. Right? And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. All right, that wicked root, Antiochus, once again, he is of the wicked. And whenever they're in power, evils are multiplied in the earth. All right, that's a scripture in Proverbs 29 and 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So when a wicked root is in power, evils are multiplied in the earth. Now, continuing on in the 33rd mark, 10 mark of the movie, they mention the oil tanker. Why? Because they want to bring attention to the white lion. He says, why didn't you say anything about what we saw at the beach today? That boat. It was an oil tanker. They see the boat, the white lion. All right, once again, the white lion was the first boat they used to enslave so-called Africans, August 20, 1619. She says, well, why didn't you tell them, I mean? She says, I don't know. Just seemed like it was piling on. No, he said that, Salakia. And she says, I was afraid. Afraid of what? That it will confirm something. Yeah, they're afraid to mention things like the white lion. Like I bet a lot of you probably never heard of the white lion. You damn sure didn't hear about it in your public fool system. I know I didn't. Right? And they don't want you to know about the white lion because they really want people to forget about slavery, i.e. what they got going on in Florida. All right, but we are required by our God to remember Amalek and his progeny. Deuteronomy 25 and 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt. Psalms 137 and 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, and there Jerusalem, you said, raise even to the foundation thereof. So we want our God to remember the Edomites, and we're supposed to remember Amalek. All right, now we go to the 34th mark. We deal with the cyber attack across the country. All right, and you read about that all the time, like in the Washington Post. China's cyber army is invading critical U.S. services. This is December 11th, 2023. All right, so it's happening currently, current day. All right, and a lot of times they have these cyber attacks are blamed on what they call solar flares, alleged solar flares, that I don't necessarily subscribe to. But anyway, in the 35th mark, 30th mark, I'm really gonna stop naming the marks. I'm just gonna name the clip that I screenshotted. You see that there's a major blackout reported on the East Coast of the United States. That's from CNN, breaking news. MSNBC, breaking news, hackers. I just wanted to point that out. Once again, hackers are doing this in real life. Could this be predictive programming? Who knows? But she says hackers were behind the power outage. All right, and we read about that just a while ago where it said China's cyber army is invading critical U.S. services. This is December 11, 2023. Another thing they showed in this video was their daughter, I think her name was Rosie, wearing a NASA t-shirt. Well, don't you know the NASA t-shirt? NASA is Hebrew for the word deceive, believe it or not. All right? And also, wonder why they say T minus. NASA, right? You put a T, change the scramble the letters, it's Satan or Hasatan, right? NASA lies. NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. You don't believe me? Well, check this out, right? Let's go to the Strongs in the Blue Letter Bible. As you can see, N-A-S-A, N-A-S-A, Nasha, NASA, to beguile, to deceive. To deceive. All right, that's in the blue letter, man. Straight up. Isn't that interesting? So just wanted to keep that in mind, too. And she saw all these different deers, which made me think of the scripture, 2 Ezra 5 and 8, where it says, there shall be confusion also in places, and the fire shall be off sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their place, and mischievous women shall bring forth monsters. This is the representation of the wild beasts changing their place. The deers were all over the place, all throughout the movie. And they're also guiding the woman to the mansion later on in the movie as well, or the daughter to the mansion. She says, why are you talking about power plants? Hackers can get into power plants. That's probably how they caused the outage. You remember that thing that happened in Jersey a few years back? It nearly caused a meltdown. That's in reference to the New Jersey water systems, which were exposed to hackers. A near disaster in Florida shows threats. All right. Water supply was hacked in a cyber attack. This was during December 2023. In New Jersey, a nuclear power plant was almost hacked, and that was in August 3, 2017. There was also one in 2021. So that was in reference to those events, and they try to hack all the time. Now notice also, this is how you know this is once again trying to get the reader in reference. In the 45 mark, you see this. In the radio, it says 1619. Now remember, the White Line arrived in Virginia in 1619. The slave ship, 1619, 1619. There are no coincidences. And we should remember dates like 1619 because, like the scriptures say in Deuteronomy 32 and 7, remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations, ask thy father and he will show thee, thy elders and they will tell thee. So we're supposed to remember the days of old. It's important to remember the dates. You should also remember 70 AD, the siege of Jerusalem. You should remember all these things, man. All right. 48 mark, they show this black horse. At least I'm assuming this is a black horse. It might be brown. And I think that could be in reference to the black horse in Revelation 6 and 5. And it says, and when we had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see, and behold, and beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Yeah, the oil and the wine, that's representation of the truth. Though we went into slavery, which this is what's in reference to. I'll do a breakdown of Revelation 6 at another time. But through our slavery, there was still oil and wine, like the Negro spirituals the writer talked about. There were still people that documented our spiritual beliefs. We still had certain spiritual customs. Like, for example, in the Americas, you had natives that still had fringes on, like the borders of blue that you read about in the law of the Torah. All right. So the oil and wine never fully left us. All right. Then he runs into a woman who, by the way, is a so-called white woman, even though she plays in Hispanic, because I looked her up. She's a 49-year-old white woman. She identifies as Caucasian. Interesting. Her name is Vanessa Aspilga, and she said, "Thank God I found someone. I'm trying to get back to my home. I'm lost." She could be representation of the lost woman, one of the lost tribes, meaning savior. Salvadora, that was her name in the movie. This was her name, was Salvadora. Remember, in Mesoamerica, Salvador was part of it. Meaning savior. Salvadora has a girl's name in Spanish origin, meaning savior. All right, she said, "Thank God I found someone. I'm trying to get back home. I'm lost. I've been waiting for a while." All right, then she goes by using the phone, yada, yada. And she tells them about a chemical attack, military planes, yada, yada. But I think that's in reference. As a matter of fact, you read Anacalypsis Volume 2, written by Godfrey Higgins, a guy that was born in the 1700s, 1772 to be exact. He wrote a book in his book series, Anacalypsis Volume 2. When we go to page 35. When we go to page 35, it states, let's see if we're still recording, bet. It states, it is necessary to observe here that tribes, both of Negroes and bearded men, were found in South America. He once again confirms that black people were already in South America. Then he talks about how the Spaniards and popes want to keep that knowledge from the people, from the European world. They don't want you to know that we were already there. And then he says, by almost all the Spanish authors, the Mexican language is so full of Hebrew words, it's as to be almost Hebrew. So the tribes that were found in Mexico were speaking Hebrew, according to Anacalypsis Volume 2. And page 25, he says, the high priest of North American Indians was called Secum. He was the dignity. He was a sacrificer to a supreme hierarchy, like a feudal title, like a Levite. He states that they wore fringes. Look, the fringes of the Mexicans were fixed to the 4 quarters of their garments as a sacred ordinance, precisely like those of the Jews. Yeah, the fringes are what the modern day people call zitzits or tizzies. All right, the fringes on the border of the blue, which you can read about in 2 Ezra 13 and 39 through 45, about a place called Arsareth, a year and a half, which is where the 10 lost tribes went. Also in the 52:47 mark, you see this guy has an Obey t-shirt and a NASA verse. So it says, "Obey the deceiver, obey NASA," and I believe that's Obama's face. I could be wrong. That's what you call a subliminal message, which are hidden words that are not consciously perceived but may influence one's attitude or beliefs or behaviors. I'm Salakia. Yeah, that's what I see that as subliminal messaging. 53, you see vultures flying everywhere over dead carcasses. Makes me think of Revelations, the 19th chapter and the 17th verse, which reads, "And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of the mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and one of them that sit on them, and flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great." So there will be a great feast for the fowls of the heaven, the birds, the scavengers, because the Most High is going to unalive a lot of people. That's all scriptural, especially in the end times, the last days. All right. And this guy, he straight left her. All right. She was looking for a nation that couldn't save her. Lamentations 4 and 17. And you might be saying, why am I talking so fast? I mean, I got 300 slides. I got to be talking fast. Now, this Lamentations 4 and 17. "As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help in our watching. We have watched for a nation that could not save us. This man could not save her. Our eyes fell, searching in vain hope. We kept watching, looking for a nation that would not help." You're not going to be saved by the so-called weak man. That's just not going to happen. All right, now, this is the daughter, Rosie. She says, "This morning I saw a deer, not a deer, but an F-ton of deer, 100. All right. And then he says, "You're so worried about it, why don't you just ask mom and dad?" She says, "Like they would even care. No one cares what I say." He says, "That's probably true." Now, funny thing is, this girl who is seeing the deer, she kind of represents the elect. We see things that other people don't see. And the deer actually brought her to a mansion which had a bunker, which had food, shelter, and safety from the coming destruction, which she found by following the deer. But nobody ever listened to her throughout this entire movie, so they were left out and totally in the dark, which makes you think of a scripture, 2 Chronicles 36 and 16. "But they mocked the messengers of God and despised his words and misused his prophets until the wrath of the Lord Yahawah arose against his people, till there was no remedy." See, like right now, we do videos. We go out there in the highways and byways. We do lessons, class sessions. People write books. People make songs, do this, yada, yada, telling people that we're the Israelites, we got to repent. And they just make fun of us. They say, "Get a job, nigga, get off the street, yada, yada. Whoop-de-whoop. Y'all dress like superheroes, all that." Well, guess what, man? In that day, you're not going to see us, but I'll tell you what you are going to see. You're going to see the wrath of God. All right? You're going to see the wrath of God. You're going to cry. You will have no one to save you, and it'll be your own damn fault. But, I mean, of course, it's all through the will of the Most High, because this is all through predestination according to the scriptures. But keep reading. 58-minute mark. She says, "Your daughter watches that show. Watch is far too weak of a word, more like worship." So she tells her that her daughter worships the show Friends, which is a red flag, because like you're not supposed to worship anything but the Most High. All right, even Yahawashi said that in Matthew 4 and 10. He says, "Then said Yahawashi unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only thou shalt serve." So Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, straight up told him, you're supposed to worship the Lord thy God, and him only. All right, so now right here, she sees the deer. Once again, she says, "Archie, look," wants her brother to look. But he doesn't want to look. By the time he looks, and she goes, "Oh, look, by the way, this is what I meant, right? You see the deer? That's the mansion." So she peeped the mansion. She peeped the bunker. She peeped the refuge, the place of safety. All right, because the deer showed it to her. All right? And she says, "We should go up there." And he says, "No, F that. I'm hungry. Come on, let's go." And once again, he didn't have the eyes. Remember, he didn't see the deer because he didn't want to pay attention. And that makes you think of Isaiah 44 and 18, which is, "They have not known nor understood, for he has shut their eyes that they cannot see, and their hearts that they cannot understand." He didn't understand that that was the place to go. All right? 1 Corinthians 2 and 14. "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." They didn't know the deer was trying to help him out, man. Well, she did, though. The daughter did. He then tells this woman he saw it. He says, "I saw it, a while ago before all this happened, and I knew something was coming. In my line of work, you have to understand the patterns that govern the world." Yeah, this is the work of a man of the Lord. We're supposed to be watchmen. We're supposed to know what's going on so we can warn the people. That's our line of work. And a lot of us do not get paid for this work, all right? We do this freely Freely we have received, freely we give, as the scriptures say. Now, donations, people give donations. I haven't really set that up, but people do, and that's no problem. But you should always run away from somebody charging for biblical breakdowns, because they're supposed to be giving out this knowledge, this information for free. Like the scriptures say, buy the truth, sell it not. All right. Another scripture that says, freely you have received, now you have to give it out freely. That's how it goes with knowledge and information. Just wanted to point that out when it comes to biblical literature. That's why if I ever write a book that deals with biblical prophecy, I will have a free PDF file for the people. That's just how it goes. But anyway, and we are to watch. All right, like you said, he saw this coming in his line of work. Matthew 24:42. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come, but know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. So we straight watch for the end of days. We wait for when all hell break loose, because it's going to happen, and we will not be surprised when it happens. Now, there was a shrill electronic tone device. And that's made me think of the Voice of God technology. For those of you that don't know, there's something known as Voice of God technology, which is a weapon device used to put voices in people's head by the military. They say it's an urban myth, allegedly. But according to Forbes magazine, they say Heat Ray and Voice of God. My experience with not only the weapons eyed for use in the DC protests. So they have the technology, supposedly, allegedly, right? And they can use sonar weapons. They can use sound weapons already. Sonar causes whales to commit suicide. It causes whales to unalive themselves. I shouldn't have said that word when I flagged the video, but it is what it is. Whales commit seppuku, right? This is a 2019 study. Daily Mail says whales beach themselves because of sonar. Makes them want to unalive themselves. Sky News says the same thing. All right, now we continue on. He says, I should have covered my ears sooner. Now my head feels weird. Yeah, that's through sonic weapons. A sonic weapon is an extremely high-powered sound wave that can disrupt or destroy the eardrums of a target, cause severe pain or disorientation. Since you're the one with the crystal ball, what was that? So she asked the so-called black man for more information. Why is that? Because we're the only people that are going to know what's going on. Who? The men of the Lord. When all hell breaks loose, at least. That's Zechariah 8:23. Thus saith Yahawah, Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. And that's why she wanted to know his input. She said, you're the one with the crystal ball. What was that? She kept asking him for knowledge. All right. She kept looking at him as a beacon for knowledge on what to understand. I don't know what that was. But anyway, continuing on. He says, I think we shouldn't do anything until Clay comes back. What if he's not coming back? She says, what if he's not coming back? So she had already given up on Clay. Like, she had already given up on Clay, even though later she's like, oh, I think you made it. She didn't give a damn about Clay. As a matter of fact, later on we find out that Shorty wanted some dark meat. All right, the brother. All right. And she didn't give a damn about Clay. She says, what if he's not coming back? That makes me think of Job. Makes me think of Job 27 and 15. Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widow shall not weep. She did not weep for Clay. If Clay was gone, listen, she would not have gave a damn. Even in the beginning of the movie, like towards the beginning of the movie when they're about to go to the beach, Ethan Hawke's character Clay, he's trying to smash Shorty, and she looks at him. She gives him that look like she was disinterested. She was already really not effing with your boy. That's what I noticed. But anyway, continuing on. She says, what do you mean? Where have you, or she says, what do you mean? Where have you been? What were you doing? I was going crazy. So she says she was going crazy. We just saw she didn't give a damn. So stop the cap. But anyway, later on, he finds a book. Later on, this guy, Clay, they drop a letter. And we're going to find out what this means, because this guy says this means death to Babylon the Great. I say death to Babylon the Great, meaning America. I say America because, you know, the algorithm, I got to keep it a certain way. All right, he says this definitely means death to ... America, right? So, and that makes you think of Obadiah 1:1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahawah, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. The nations are all turning on these Idumeans. Obadiah 1 and 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. All right, so the Idumeans are greatly despised. In the back of the letter, I went ahead and translated this for y'all. It reads, in translation, it says, we ask you to pay immediate attention to what we say in this post. We have the most dangerous and destructive explosives in history, and we leave this horrific fact for you to contemplate and stress validity of what is said. I just want to use the art on your land, and steps must be taken to stop the resistance they built to Muslim surrender to you, or for Muslim surrender to you, or whatever. So that's what this read. Just translate that for you. You know what I'm saying? They said the most destructive weapons. Well, that's dealing with the stars falling in heaven, the ICBM missiles. Remember, the Iranians now have ability to have nuclear stuff. And by the way, in Revelation chapter 6, verse 13, it says, the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, even as a fig tree casts their untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. It says, well, Russia's... Now, when you look at a missile, it looks like a star, hence why it says fall from heaven. These missiles look like stars when they launch, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island was moved out of their place. So they look like stars when they launch, and when they hit, it looks like a scroll, and the heavens and stuff are moved and passed away. All right. Now this gets to the part where they meet Kevin Bacon's character. He's like a doomsday prepper type dude, and he says it means death to it means death to America, the Iranians. This guy mentions Iranians. Isn't that interesting? I mentioned that earlier. Now, later on in this movie, the girl hears sirens. None of them else hear sirens. Once again, she has the ears to hear. None of them do. And she says, I can't sleep because of the sirens. This makes me think of Matthew 13 and 15, which is where it says, for this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see their eyes and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. She was the only one that had the ears to hear. She heard the sirens. All right, and once she said, no one was listening to her. Now, in this part, in Tesla, in this scene, there's a car pile up. They're all Tesla cars. And they highlight the self-driving safety features. And this is how you know this is dealing with predictive programming, because they highlight the self-driving safety features of Tesla, right? Well, isn't it interesting that after this movie was made, Tesla did a recall on all cars. It says Tesla recalls nearly all vehicles sold in the U.S. to fix systems that monitor drivers using autopilot. CNN.com's Tesla recalls nearly all 2 million of its vehicles on U.S. roads. Isn't that interesting that in this movie, the Tesla car pileup, it was self-driving safety features which were used to terrorize people. And that's what you call predictive programming, which they call a conspiratorial theory. Predictive programming is a theory that the government or other higher-ups are using fictional movies or book of mass control to make the population more accepting of planned future events. Well, we just saw that in this movie, which came out on November 22nd, then later 6 days ago, which was December 15th or something like that, they did a recall on Tesla cars. Coincidence? Well, I told you I don't believe in coincidences. And this movie came out November 22nd. All right. And there have already been automated tech vehicle crashes with 11 people that have lost their lives due to these crashings. Like I told you earlier, the rainbow is not coincidental, because the part 4, this is named the flood. All right, this this chapter was known as the flood. And like I said, and that's, once again, a reminder to the days of Noah. When you go to Matthew 24 and 39, but by the way, Matthew 24 is about the end of the world. It states, but as the days of Noah were, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days of Noah, they were, as in the days of Noah, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So is also the coming of the Son of Man be. Once again, in relation to the flood. And in 2 Peter 3 and 6, it says what? Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. But in 2 Peter 3 and 10, it tells you it won't be by water, it'll be by fire. 2 Peter 3 and 10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. All right, so the next time it'll be by fire. He says, I've never seen anything like this. Next part, the guy says, never seen anything like this. Yeah, it's because Jacob's trouble will tell you there will be you've never seen nothing like this. Jeremiah 30 and 6, what's known as Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose. Jeremiah 30 and 6, ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail a child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. See, he said, I never see anything like this. That day is great, that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. We shall be saved out of it. Who is that will be saved out of it? The elect out of the nation of Israel, the chosen ones. All right. 2nd Ezra 14 to 16 speaks on this as well. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. Yeah, that's the day of Jacob's trouble, the worst time in human history that will ever occur for us, the nation of Israel. All hell will be breaking loose. It'll be complete mayhem and haywire, and if you're not under the protection of the Lord, you will get got. You will get caught lacking, and there will be nothing you can do about it. But 2nd Ezra 14 and 17, for look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. So the older the world gets, the more evils that will increase. That's why everybody's bugged the hell out. That's why people cut their body parts off and think it's normal. That's why people will get their eyeballs tattooed. That's why people are doing mass, poppings in public areas. Yeah. All right. Now this is where she's saying, this is where she starts feeling the boy. See, she was a hater the whole movie. She was a hater. She was hating on the brother. In reality, she always had that attraction for him, and it's about to show. By the way, this is adultery, and I do not condone it. But Shorty was feeling him the whole time. Same way, like now, I got some instances, and I got a brother. Shout out to my brother Chris. We got instances where someone will say something off the wall about so-called black people, but then in the same way say they're attracted to us, which I found personally insulting. But anyway, this is what she had to say. She says, I'm really sorry for you then, and why is that? Because people are terrible. He's telling about her line of work. I mean, look at how I treated you, and now we are enjoying a drink together. To me, this was in representation of the fact that we got treated like absolute trash, chattel, slavery, right? They treated us like trash. They used our children as alligator bait. They smiled at public lynchings of us, all right? And yet, they do all this. They treat us like trash, and yet they enjoy a drink together, which makes you think of what? Now they're throwing arms together like power fists in the hair, embracing feminism. Now they're doing guess who's coming to dinner situations where the brother's trying to fit in, right? They treat us like absolute trash, and yet now they want to enjoy a drink together. Pass. Never forget. The scriptures tell us never to forget, right? Isaiah 14 and 21. This is what's going to happen to the people that did us dirty. They're going to get done dirty sevenfold times more. Isaiah 14 and 21, which reads, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and the son, the nephew, saith the Lord. So there will be nobody that makes it out for the daughters of Babylon. Now this is talking about Babylon, and it says prepare slaughter for the children for the iniquity of their fathers. Yeah, what for what they did to us, right? Now it says Babylon, but we know the daughter of Babylon is once again the Edomite Empire, the Idumean Empire. We can prove that in Psalms 137 and 7, which reads, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. So the Edomites are known as the daughters of Babylon. So anytime you see daughter of Babylon in these different parts, like Zechariah 2 and 7, Isaiah 47 and 1, Jeremiah 51 and 33, Jeremiah 50, 42, all these daughters of Babylon is in reference to the Edomites, okay? And just like we go into Revelations and it says Babylon or Babylon the great, mother of harlots, abominations, the great whore, that is once again talking about an Edomite empire. In particular, Babylon the great is talking about America. Even in Google, you say, who is the daughter of Babylon? Google will tell you America, the daughter of Babylon, deals with the prophetic future of the United States of America. All right, the daughter of Edom. This is the whore of Babylon the great. All right, the United States. Now, continuing on, now I wanted to put on this. This is a scripture that tells you what not to do to avoid getting into an adulterous relationship. The brother is having a drink with the woman. They feeling each other. She licking her lips. She really liked the brother. She feeling dark meat. And she says, I'm starting to like you. And that's a bold statement coming from me because, yeah, she's starting to like him in more ways than one. Right? She flicks her hair back. I can't remember the last time I liked anybody. Now, she flicks her hair back after she says that. And I'm going to let you brothers know on game that don't know whenever, and this is not for an adulterous relationship, but if you're ever talking to a woman or dealing with a woman and she flicks her hair back, chances are she's probably got the hots for you, man. I'm just going to be honest. I even typed it in for the fellas. I typed it in. It says a girl moves her hair back to show she likes you. It says women tend to preen or groom themselves subconsciously when they are attracted to someone by flipping back their hair to fluff it. So she flipped back her hair because she was feeling the brother. All right, she was feeling them. Once again, this is adultery, and I'm going to show you in a minute something else. It says when a woman plays with her hair, it could be a sign she's attracted to you. Yeah, this is real deal Holyfield, right? But now I wanted to point this out, right? He's out here having drinks with her, sitting down with her. He's doing everything you're not supposed to be doing. The scriptures speak against this to avoid you to get in an adulterous relationship, which can cost you literally your life. When you go to Sirach or Ecclesiastes 99, also known as Sirach, it says sitting out at all with another man's wife. He's already off code. It says sit not at all with another man's wife, nor sit down with her in thine arms. Don't give her no hugs, and spend not thy money with her at the wine. Don't go out for drinks with her. Oh, I'm going out for drinks with my work husband. Don't be a work husband. Lest thine heart incline unto her, and so through thy desire thou shalt fall into destruction. Yeah, when you're having drinks with the bride, you're getting to know her, you're sitting down, you're cheesing, y'all having the wine, yada yada, y'all feeling each other, the liquor kicking in. Next thing you know, you're committing adultery. Next thing you know, husband walks in. Next thing you know, catches you. Next thing you know, you're on a t-shirt, R.I.P., there's a tombstone, and everybody's crying. All right, so think about that. Next time you think about going out to drinks with another man's wife. This party says in the business world, he's one of the biggest out there. He's talking about his contractor. He deals mostly in defense contracting, right? I'm talking hush hush, top secret money from the Pentagon. Perhaps the most powerful person I've ever had a meal with. So this guy was meeting with big shakers. All right, I typed in the top men that are defensive contractors. We got Lockheed Martin, Boeing Defense, Northrop Grumman, all these different places, right? So he was probably dealing with somebody like that in this movie. He says, oh, you know, now he talks about where was he meeting, and this is what he says. Once again, he's going to throw this out there because this is what they really do, believe it or not. He says, oh, you know, with the rest of the evil cabal that runs the world. Yeah, the evil cabal that runs the world. He was the kind of guy that always known for jokes like that. So they say he was just joking, right? So they don't want the so-called theorists to catch on to this. But he straight said that the person he had a client with went to meet with people that were in the part of the evil cabal that runs the world. And that's actually scripture, believe it or not. Psalms 64 and 2. I'm actually going to start at 1. This is Psalm 64 and 1. It says to the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. So there is a secret counsel of the wicked. The secret counsel of the wicked are the Edomites. I told you this before. Who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bear their words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Yeah, they shoot jabs at us. They redline us. They profile us. They poison us. They get us against each other. And they also want to shoot actual arrows and missiles at us as well. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They can commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? That's a secret society, a secret council. So this is actually a biblical thing. It says that again, what? In Psalms chapter 83, it says what? Verse 3, Psalms 83 and 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. That's a crafty counsel. That's a secret society. Now, let's keep going. He says, oh, you hanging with your evil cabal this weekend? In this story, he says, I thought that was only during the winter solstice. So he made a joke that the evil cabal meets on the winter solstice. Well, wouldn't you know that the winter solstice is a top Satanic religion holiday? The winter solstice, which is, by the way, December 25th, which is a wicked-ass holiday that has nothing to do with the birth of so-called Christ. It has to do with Nimrod, and it's satanic, right? So let's prove that. This is according to the Satanic temple. It says, "Blessed be the Satanic holidays." Look at this, Sol Invictus. Remember, he said, I thought that was only during the winter solstice with the evil cabal. Sol Invictus. They celebrate the winter solstice. See that? Satanic holiday. But continuing on, he says, a conspiracy theory about a shadowy group of people running the world is far too lazy of an explanation. Yeah, that was just their way of throwing in to demonize the theorist. And some theorists are whacked out, but some are actually accurate. And also, they showed flamingos landing in the pool, which once again dealt with wild beasts changing their places. I read the scripture earlier in 2 Ezra 5 and 8. Reading on. Oh, man, this is going to be a 2-hour video, probably. My longest video up to date, for sure. All right, now he's still chilling with Shorty. She puts on the music. She said, "You want to win me over." Now, this looks like something a lady can properly dance to. All right, I think she really wants to dance with the brother with no clothes on. You know, she's probably already undressed him in his mind. You already know how it is, especially when they see Jake. You know, once again, I do not condone adultery, and the punishment for adultery is to be unalived. But I'm just speaking what I'm seeing. You hear me? And of course, the record she plays is so-called black people music. That's because, like 2 Samuel 7:23 says, "What nation in earth is like thy people, even like Israel?" Yeah, nobody's like Israel. Nobody's effing with us. Matthew 5:13, like we're the salt of the earth. All right. Deuteronomy 7:6 tells you we're a special people above all the people on the face of the earth. Deuteronomy 14 tells you we're chosen to be a peculiar people above all the nations on the earth. So, of course, she'd be feeling our music. We make the best music. All right? We got the best athletics, the best genetics. You heard me? But it is what it is. They get the dancing, they get the drinking, chilling, yada, yada. So now this brings me back to Ecclesiastes 9, right? Told you what not to do. Sitting out with another man's wife. He's doing that, right? Don't have her in her arms. He had her in her arms, right? Don't go out for drinks with the wine. Don't go out for drinks. Lest that heart decline onto her, and that desire fall into destruction. They got the dancing. They having a good time. And look at this lyric. I feel that little poke coming through. Now, girl, I know you felt it. Boo, you know I can't help it. Look at that, man. That's crazy. And she says, we're married. I'm married. Now, isn't it interesting that she says, we're married, I'm married? She says she's married. Why is that? Because if she weren't married, this would not be an act of adultery. Why? Because a man can actually have multiple wives. I had to include that. You don't believe me? In the law, Exodus 21:10. Now, let me say this. A man can have more than one wife. That doesn't mean he needs to. That doesn't mean he has to. That doesn't mean he should. A lot of people can't really afford it. A lot of people ain't got it like that. A lot of people ain't got the strength to do it, but it is an option. And that's why she said, we're married, I'm married. That's what she said. Right? And then later on, she's like, you have a wife. Just wanted to bring that up. And let's prove that in Exodus 21:10. If he take him another wife, her food and raiment and her duty of marriage shall not be diminished. And if he do not these three unto her, then she shall go out free without money. So a man can take another wife. It tells you that again in Deuteronomy 20:15. If a man have two wives, one beloved, another hated, and they have born the children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers, that was a hated. This is dealing with an inheritance. But guess what? A man can have two wives. That's in the law. And she said, and the song, once again, you know what I want to do. She's looking at him like if he gave the go, even though she just said they were married, if he gave the go, she would. I just say pennies coming off, man. Straight up. She had no respect for her husband the entire movie. All right, she had no respect for her husband. And this reminds me of a similar thing what happened to Joseph, right? Joseph, Potiphar's wife, wanted to sleep with Joseph and commit adultery with him, but Joseph refused. Genesis 39:10. And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. All right. And she me too'd him anyway. She tried to say that he tried to have his way with it even though he didn't. Anyway, continuing on, this girl, Rosie, the daughter, basically tells her mom that she got a sign from God to go into that place and follow the deer and go into that mansion. She does that by telling a little short story that she basically says a flood was happening, it was raining, so a helicopter came by, a radio came by, and a boat came by, and the guy just kept praying instead of paying attention to the signs that were given her. She says, I think I'm done waiting. What that was really in reference to was that the Most High God will send you signs on what to do, man. All right? And the deer was a sign for what she thought she had to do, which was correct. Follow the deer to a safer location, which was the mansion that was a doomsday bunker. And she spoke to her mother in a parable. That makes me think of the scripture. Matthew 13:10, the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. A parable is a riddle. She was telling her mother a parable, a riddle, a story, all right, that her mother really didn't understand. All right, I wanted to get that. Now, in this part, we're still recording? Bet. In this part, it's just the man, his daughter, George, and his daughter Ruth in the movie. She says, the point remains, I don't trust them. I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people. So she straight up said, don't trust the so-called white man, which had a lot of these people on Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, making videos, comments about, I can't believe she said don't trust these people. Well, listen, man, I don't trust you people either, man. You know what happens when you trust you people? You get smallpox blankets. When you trust the Edomites, you get smallpox blankets. The British gave smallpox contaminated blankets to the Shawnee Indians communities on purpose. And that's from the National Library of Medicine. Ecclesiastes 12:10 tells you straight up, don't ever trust your enemy. Like these people always like to quote, love your enemy. Your enemy that is telling you to love is a fellow Israelite. You never trust your enemy being another nation ever in life. You read Sirach 12:10, Ecclesiastes 12:10. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped the looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not altogether been wiped away. I don't care how happy he is. I don't care how nice and friendly he seems. Never trust thine enemy. Set him not by thee. Don't even have him near you, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember thy words, and be pricked therewith. Who would pity a charmer that has been with the serpent, and any such as come nigh wild beast? Yeah, you're not pitied if you walk up to a grizzly bear. You're not pitied if you slap a horse on the ass. And you're damn sure not pitied if you try to pick up a venomous snake. All right? Never trust your enemy. And this guy, he started falling out. That makes me think of pestilences that would be coming on the earth. 2 Ezra 15:49. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And this guy was a victim of pestilence for sure. And also in the fifth part, the last one, is titled The Last One. This is a chapter and arc. The last one, once again, which is in reference to the last days. Now, this is funny, right? Now, their daughter goes missing. Now, this guy puts his head on his show, or this guy puts his hand on her shoulder and says, I promise you, I'll get your son some help. Dude walks in, he peeps it. Now, check you out. She's looking for him once again for guidance. She doesn't care about her husband, man. All right? And this dude was making me mad the whole movie anyway, because this guy, this brother, man, he was playing Captain Save-A-Bitch. All right? He was Captain Save-A-Hole the whole movie. He's trying to save this woman that he didn't know, that he wasn't having sex with, a woman who was already married, by the way. He already had a wife, and he was doing the most to help this woman out, and it made no sense, and it was very annoying. He was actually doing the most to help all these people out, these people he didn't know from a can of paint who wanted to kick him out of their own house. But yeah, he's being Captain Save-A-Hole, you know, whatever. 1 Ezra 4:26 speaks about this. 1 Ezra 4:26. Yeah, many there be that have run out of their wits for women and become servants for their sakes. Many also have perished, have erred, and sinned for women. You know, I mean, people die over a woman every day. Most of these gang wars be about a woman. It ain't even about no money. It be about, oh, he smashed my girl. They shot somebody. Now it's up forever. And by forever, I mean until the Rico comes to get you, like an old block situation. Wipe out the whole block. Right? Which I don't feel bad for them niggas anyway from O Block. They going off. Anyway. Now, he comes back, and he's like saying he couldn't see him. And she goes, well, where the haven't you looked, Clay? She's yelling at him, right? Now, she's yelling at him, right? Now, then this guy comes out. He says, the brother comes out. He says, she's not down there. And she just goes, okay. This is insane. Where is she? So she just yelled at this guy for not being able to find their daughter. But she's cool with this dude. You know why? Because she still wants to smash this guy. Now, anyway, later on, movie ends up. He says he's going to go help them get the Rosie's brother, Archie, I think is his name. And she says, no, what? You can't leave me here by myself. You can't leave me here by myself, which is totally reasonable. I don't know why you would leave your daughter by herself. You're literally living in the last days, the end of days. All hell is breaking loose. And you're going to help some people you don't even know that are probably going to try to F you over in real life if this was a real situation. And he says, whatever it is that's happening to Archie is happening to all of us. You can't leave the world. You can't leave. The world could be ending. Yeah, the world could be ending. And by the way, family does come first in this situation. And the world could be ending. Yeah, the world is ending. And this makes me think of a scripture straight up. Ecclesiasticus 11:9. Strive not in a matter that concerneth thee not, and sit not in judgment with sinners. My son, meddle not with many matters, for if thou meddle much, thou shalt not be innocent. If thou follow after, thou shalt not obtain, neither shalt thou escape fleeing. So I'm not going to be in a matter that doesn't concern me. I'm damn sure not going to be trying to help out some Edomite son who I don't know that'll probably F me over as soon as they get the chance. Matter of fact, last days come, I want all Idumeans to stay away from me because I don't trust them. Straight up. Now, he says set a timer for 1 hour. They set a timer. That makes me think of Revelations 18:10, which is standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, the great city Babylon, which is America, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So it only takes 1 hour for the judgment to come, and I believe that's why he stated for in 1 hour. And then once again, she spazzes out on this woman. She says, I want to get the F away from here and you and whatever is happening. She says, stop yelling at me. Should have slapped her if you ask me. She should have slapped her if you ask me, but hey, that's just me. But she says, you don't care that I'm here. Yeah, she don't. And then she said, I care, I do. No, the only thing she cares about is her 2 children and the so-called black man who she wished she was up under, which is crazy because she's a married woman. But you know, hoes will be hoes. But anyway, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that, but I do care. Also, she was the best actor in the movie because she was really playing the Karen type chick. All right. Why are you like this? Why do you get out of being? What do you get out of being angry all the time? She asks. She says, we F every living thing on this planet over and think it'll be fine. And by we, she means her people, the Idumeans. That's what I got out of it. Because guess what? And the sick thing is, I think deep down we know we're not fooling anyone. I think we know we're living a lie, an agreed upon mass delusion. Well, your life is a lie. I say that all the time in my videos, and you are living upon an agreed upon delusional. And you do F up everything you touch. That's why all the inhabitants are mourning, because the wicked beareth rule. I read that earlier. And they do agree upon a mass delusion. Read about that, Psalms chapter 2. Why do the heathen rage? She asked why they're angry. Well, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying. So they do rage and they imagine a vain thing. All right, they do live in a mass delusion because their plan, it's going to be brought to naught by the Most High anyway, whatever their plans are. Straight up. She says, to help us ignore and keep ignoring how awful we really are. Yeah, I mean, the Idumeans are pretty awful. Ezekiel 7:24 calls them the worst of the heathen. Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and the holy place shall be defiled. Yeah, the worst of the heathen, which would be Amalek, the Amalekites, which is the grandson of Esau. Right? We're almost at the finish line, man. She says, I don't want to be this way. I hate being terrible like this. Well, it's really nothing you can do about it, because you were made to be the terrible. Romans 9:20. Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Have not the potter power of the clay, and the same lump to make one vessel unto honor, nothing unto dishonor? And you're a daughter of dishonor. I'm going to start calling that a coin. You're one of the daughters of dishonor, which is just code term for you being an Idumean. All right, an Idumean. But anyway, continuing on, we get to the part where they meet Kevin Bacon's character. He says, well, it's not all that dissimilar to what happened in Cuba a while back. Microwave weapons, they call it microwave weapons, produce a kind of radiation that can be beamed out through sound. Some people lost their teeth there too. Now, is this a real thing? Well, I looked it up. It's known as the microwave weapons, a prime suspect to the U.S. Embassy workers. This was talked about in the New York Times. They did use microwaves, and I looked it up. There's something known as Havana syndrome, which is something they did in Cuba. Havana is in Cuba. He talked about it in Cuba a while back. Havana syndrome occurred in 2020 and 2021. And the loss of teeth, Havana syndrome, nausea, dizziness, mental fogginess, irritability, usually following loud noise. Some people have speculated it was caused by a secret sonic weapon deployed by another geopolitical power. You see that? So that's what he was talking about when he talked about the microwave weapon caused by sound. That's what he was talking about. I lose my water. Here we go. He says, maybe we should just sit tight. He says, maybe we should just need to sit tight, be safe, pray, whatever works for you. Yeah, we should pray in the time like this when this happens, because it tells you in Luke 21:36, it says, watch you therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. So we should be praying that we're accounted worthy to escape the hell that will be breaking loose. Then he says, in this conversation, he says, come on now, it's me. We know each other. We're friends. He said, that's the old way, George. You're not thinking clearly. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you were friends. First of all, he was never your friend. But let's just go with that. Matthew 24:12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Yeah, that love's going to go out the window when all hell breaks loose. That love's going to go out the window when your stomach's touching your back and you're hungry and your baby's crying and your woman's bitching and complaining, telling you that y'all don't have any food. Now you're going to be trying to run up in somebody's house, man, and get got or get them or get got. That's what you're going to be thinking. At least the people that are not the service of the Lord, because the service of the Lord will be getting taken care of at the same way. I'm going to end that in the scripture later on. But let's continue, right? He says, well, the whole network's down. My credit cards aren't going to work. There's no Venmo or Apple Pay. And that shows you something that could be predictive programming. I mean, cash might be the only thing that means something. Well, Proverbs 11:4 tells you riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. Yeah, when all hell breaks loose, money is not really going to be the focus because it's not going to matter. This party says, I suggest you try your neighbors, the Thorns. They did a basement conversion on the down low a while back. No permits or nothing. That's rich asshole talk for a doomsday bunker. And the daughter already peeped the game on the doomsday bunker. Isaiah 2:19. And doomsday bunkers are in the scriptures as well. I'm about to read it. This is Isaiah 2:19, which reads, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for the fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Yeah, the earth will be shaken by literally nuclear missiles. And people will be in the holes of the rock caves of the earth, which is a bunker, the clefts of the rock. All right, those are bunkers. Tells that again in Revelation 6:16. It said, actually, I'm going to start at 15. Actually, I'm just going to get it off the top. Revelation 6:13. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth. I proved that was the ICBM missiles. Even as a fig tree casteth its untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed of the scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain of the island were moved out of their places. Yeah, that's the bombs hitting, right? Now check this out. It says, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, doomsday bunkers, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. And said to the mountains of the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. And they think they can hide from God in their little doomsday bunkers, man. All right, that's why Mark Zuckerberg, he has a $270 million bunker they talked about 2 days ago. It's not going to work, though, because the scriptures tell you straight up, we're going to find them. All right. That's Amos 9:3, baby. It says, I'm going to start at 2. This is Amos 9:2. Though they dig into hell, meaning go underground, thence shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, hence will I bring them down. You can't fly away in space. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. So there's no escape. You can't escape. So the bunkers are not going to work. I don't care how many millions of dollars you spend. You can't run from the Lord. And these deers, they surround them. Makes me think of the scripture, Ecclesiastes 39:28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of their destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishment and wicked destruction. Yeah, the Most High can send animals to destroy people straight up. He does it all the time already. And that will be happening in the last days. Best believe. And by the last days, we're already in the last days. By the last days, I'm talking about when all hell breaks loose. All right, this part, they point guns at each other. That's dealing with a scripture that comes to mind, Matthew 24:10. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Also in Isaiah 3:5, people will oppress each other, man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young will rise up against the old, and nobody against the honored. Nobody against the honored. Yeah, they're not really going to care about being civil when once again all hell breaks loose. Also speaks about that in 2nd Ezra 15 and 16. I'm actually going to read all this. 2nd Ezra 15 and 16 through 19. It talks about what will be happening when all hell breaks loose. For there shall be sedition among men, and invaded one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Yeah, they wanted to go to a hospital, but they weren't able to go into the hospital in the movie. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. He had no pity on his neighbor. That's why he was ready to risk it all for the supplies that he had inside Kevin Bacon's house. All right. And then, so they all diffused the situation, specifically the so-called white man Ethan Hawke, which I believe his character's name was Clay. He diffuses the situation with this guy Kevin Bacon's character, which is funny, right? The so-called black man, which was his alleged friend, they were homies all this time, and yet he was able to only be disarmed when he met another fellow so-called white man to disarm him and put his shotgun down, even though he knew George for like 20 years. It didn't really matter. You know why? Because he wasn't really your friend. But anyway, after that place has been diffused, they say, we made a lot of enemies around the world. Maybe all this means is a few of them teamed up. And these nations will team up. Believe it or not, that is scriptural. Obadiah 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. Yeah, they're going to flip. They're going to turn on them like bricks. You see that happening now. The CSTO as well. And prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in them. Yeah, all the people that were once allies with this place are going to turn on them, turn traitor. This woman, Ruth, says the animals, they're trying to warn us. They know something that we don't. Well, Job 12:7 says you can learn from animals. Job 12:7, but ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. You can actually learn from animals, you know. For example, when you watch a squirrel storing nuts, you know winter's coming. You know you should store up some food. When a wasp builds a nest outside that's open and visible, that means there's a drought that's happening. Things like that. When birds fly south to the winter, birds fly south for the winter, you know winter's coming, right? All right, so it ends with this, right? He's breaking it down. He says, what's the third stage? He says Civil War. And don't you know a movie's coming out after this movie known as Civil War, all right, which is dealing with a modern take of a civil war happening. That's Mark 3:25. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. Matthew 12:25. And Yahawashi knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Yeah, so when the Civil War happens, I mean, that's a wrap. I mean, if a Civil War happens, I can't speak to that knowing, but I do know that people are going to be turning on each other. I just read that in the scriptures. And they hold their hands and they see a nuke going off, right? And I'm going to end it with this last part where it shows the daughter, Rosie, in this mansion, the bunker. She's already found the bunker. Why? Because the deer led it to her. Once again, this is in representation of the elect. And it tells you that in Isaiah 65:13. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahawah God, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Lord Yahawah shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name, that he who blesseth himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth. And he that sweareth in the earth shall swear by the God of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten, because they are hid from mine eyes. So when all hell breaks loose, guess what? The servants of the Most High, they're going to have food, they're going to have water, shelter, they're going to be happy, they're going to be joyous, like the daughter was in this mansion. All right, during the last days, which once again she clicked on, it said the last one, which is in representation of the last days. She gets to watch this Friends episode, and she has a smile on her face, and she's happy. Makes you think of Job 5:22. It says, you will laugh at destruction and famine, and need not fear the wild animals. So she didn't have to fear the wild animals Like when they were surrounded, she didn't have to fear the wild animals, right? She didn't have to worry about a famine. She didn't have to worry about the destruction because she was in the bunker. All right, that was in representation of the elect, in my opinion. So that was a long video, man, probably about 2 hours. So yeah, that's my breakdown on the video. Hopefully it doesn't get taken down. I'm going to be pissed. Of the movie Leave the World Behind, and like I said, leave the world behind and open the Bible. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. And with that, I want to say peace to the 12, and I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, the Most High Yahawah, in the name of His only begotten Son, yahawashi. Yahawah is the name of the Heavenly Father, who is commonly known as God, and yahawashi is the Savior of the nation of Israel, who is commonly known as Jesus Christ. I want to say shalom, which means peace. To you people that are listening and learning, you brothers doing this work, truth, sincerity, and to you elders that's been doing this thing before me, man. This was a long video coming. You know, I finally finished it, man. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully it gets to upload. And yeah, I'm going to get up out of here. Shalom.